Hi, my name is Maliha. I got 10 grade 9s in my GCSEs and I'm a first year medical student. Now, this video is really all about me going into the ins and outs of how my revision actually changed when I started medical school, because I did make a lot of changes. Obviously, medical school, as a lot of people may know, is quite intense, so I did have to adapt a lot of my techniques. Hopefully some of these techniques may help some of you if you want to improve your technique. So I don't want to waffle too much, let's just go straight into it. The first thing is preparing beforehand and doing pre-notes and pre-reading. That was an essential one for me. I was still doing that to some extent when I was doing my A-levels. Like, a lot of the time I'd feel like we were going fairly slow in class compared to how quickly I wanted to finish the content, so I would often read ahead and look in the textbook to later pages past what we were doing in class. But I didn't necessarily do it to that extent or that much detail, that I was literally pre-reading every single chapter or every lesson. And what that has done for me now that I'm doing it now in university is when I go into lectures, before I started doing this, I would often sit there super confused, because the way some of the lecturers just kind of almost assume that you know this stuff already. I mean, I suppose it's not really their fault. Maybe, they're used to teaching people who know this stuff, because, a lot of my lecturers are doctors. But it doesn't really help poor little old me who's just sitting there completely confused. I look through the lecture slides and notes before I go into class. I search up anything that I don't understand, and then at the end of the session I try to blurt out everything that I understood and remember from what I went through. So then when I go into the lectures now, I actually know what the lecturers are talking about, which is a start. If you're in school or college, and you probably won't have access to the PowerPoints before the lesson, so just look up the curriculum or the specification online for your course, and then look ahead to see what topics you haven't covered yet, and then you can kind of from there anticipate what's going to be covered next if they're doing it in chronological order, and you can just kind of read ahead and do some notes on some harder topics, so that when you go into class you're more prepared for it. You understand what the teacher is talking about, and you can ask more informed questions to enhance your understanding. That's kind of the general gist of it. So pre-reading and pre-notes has been a game changer for me, and I do highly recommend people do it no matter what stage of your education you're at right now. The second thing is not relying on flashcards, just flashcards to do active recall. Now, if you've been following my channel, if you're one of the people that have been watching my videos, then you would know that I'm in love with flashcards. I have been banging on about it since the beginning of this channel, just flashcards. And to be fair, flashcards did help me when I was in school and when I was in college. But now that I'm in university and all of these complicated concepts and words and mechanisms are being thrown at my head, flashcards just aren't really cutting it anymore. They help me to just memorize facts, but the bottom line is understanding. You have to understand these things first, and then when you understand them, it becomes easier to memorize them. And especially when there's so much information, you want to be able to connect the dots in your head. In an exam, there's going to be application stuff, there's always going to be application stuff, so you want to be able to pull lots of different pieces of information out of your head and then put it to the question. And if you're just doing flashcards and just memorizing I don't know, 200 bone names, then that's not really going to help you apply your knowledge. And if you're in medical school, then at the end of the day, it's not going to help you treat your patients by being able to name every single bone and then have no application knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Other forms of active recall that are really helpful would be mind mapping and blurting. I'm still in the process of developing my techniques and learning what works for me, but so far I feel like blurting has been something that's really worked for me, because it helps me to connect everything in my head. It's not just blindly recalling random facts, it's connecting the facts, it's writing them down in some kind of order. Also mind mapping is even better in connecting stuff, obviously, because you can draw stuff from the circle and then connect your different ideas together. So yeah, don't rely on flashcards. You should try and branch out a little bit more. Obviously flashcards is still there. I still do flashcards. Flashcards takes up half my revision session still, but I do try to do other stuff as well. Which brings me on to my next point, which is trying to be a bit more creative with your revision. Don't just be static and just be doing, flashcards and blurting and the end. Try and add some interestingness into your revision. What I try to do, especially when I'm doing anatomy, is I try to draw things out on my iPad using my pencil, and it actually helps a lot, just being able to visualize things. Other things you can do is trying to teach someone the concept. Imagine there's an imaginary person standing in front of you, trying to teach them what you've been learning. That helps a lot as well, because teaching is a really effective way to remember stuff, because it doesn't just help them, you're subconsciously teaching yourself and you're consolidating it in your head. So yeah, try to be a bit more creative with your revision, be a bit more fluid, drawing things out, teaching things, walking around, playing mental games in your head, doing whatever you can to make your revision more engaging. Like, engage all your senses if you can. I haven't found a way to engage my taste or my smell, but maybe one day we'll get there. The next point is to find some kind of study space. Now, what I noticed is when I was doing my revision in my room, in my accommodation, it was a bit of a challenge for me to focus, just because I was always going on my phone, going on like Instagram, going on whatever, and not really paying attention to what I was supposed to be doing. However, what I found is when I go to like a public space that's quiet, like emphasis on quiet, for example, the library or my university common room study room, the study room above the common room, I study a lot better there because there's other people around. So then I feel a bit ashamed, like if I see them studying and then I'm just here, you know, scrolling on Instagram. So what I'd recommend you do as well, if you struggle to study in the space that you're currently studying in, try and switch up a bit. Go to a park, go to the library. It's all about finding what works for you. You have to experiment a bit in the beginning. I've been doing a lot of experimenting since I started medical school to try and adapt to the sheer amount of workload and the sheer amount of content, and I'm still trying to adapt and develop, but so far some of the techniques that I've mentioned is what's helping me kind of keep my head above the water. So try and find a study space that works for you. And my final point is being self-aware. Now, if I wasn't self-aware, then all of the techniques that I've just listed out to you would not exist right now, and this video would not be here, because I would still be stuck in my old ways. It's very important to be self-aware and understand what is working for you and what isn't. Like, if you notice that you're kind of just doing flashcards mindlessly and you're not actually remembering anything from them, it may be time to change something. If you notice that you're remembering one topic and you're not really remembering another topic that's more like practical based, then maybe it's time to focus on practical based revision techniques. If you find that you're not focusing in your room, if you find that you're doom scrolling all the time, if you find that you're just falling behind with your work, or if you find that you go into a lesson and you don't know what's happening, it's time to find something that works for you. It's time to make a change to your revision, because clearly something is going wrong there. But yeah, that's all my advice and all the techniques that I've developed. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments or you can email me. My email is in my channel bio. All I really have left to say is good luck with your work, exam, school, whatever it is. And yeah, bye guys.